In the year of 2021, on January 31st, a massive snowstorm began building up violently, scraping along the northeastern part of America, with the various states being hit were Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was violently hit with 31 inches of snow. Many people were not prepared, as many residents in Plainstown were hit hard. Unfortunately, the storm had created one of the most bizarre and tragic murders the town has ever seen. In a quiet, suburban neighborhood of Skeleton, we meet a man by the name of Jeffrey Spade, a well-respected and all-around seemingly normal man. He was a shipboard engineer and technician. His job consisted of designing, building, servicing, and repairing boats and ships. Spade also served the Navy for 20 years and did various other jobs. In his free time, Spade enjoyed going on marathons and spending time outdoors. Even if he wasn't outside, he would sit at home with family over or be completely alone. Most of his neighbors and him had a mutual respect for each other and didn't disturb him, though there was one couple that he didn't get along with: James and Lisa Goy. Lisa being 47 and James 50. Both married and lived right across from Spade's home. They also had a 15-year-old son. There were many times these neighbors would be fighting or bicker with Spade, building tensions between them, all eventually building up to one fateful day on February 1st, 2021. It was around 9 that the storm had really started coming down hard. The roads were icy, the streets, homes, and cars all covered in a thick blanket of snow. 30 minutes passed, and the storm only worsened. So James and Lisa Goy picked up their snow shovels and got ready to clear their car from the snow. While this was happening, Spade was in his home. A couple minutes passed, and the boys were collecting the snow and dumping it on Spade's property. They did so until Spade caught them and exited his home and asked them to stop. The situation very quickly escalated to a non-stop name-calling and swearing match.
Queer. Come in, scummy motherfucker. Step out here. I'll knock your ass out. Motherfucker. Fuck you. Fuck you, you fucking scum. I'll make your life a living hell living here, dickhead. What? You heard me. Fuck you, you fucking scum. You would probably...
You're the fucking scumbag!
No,
you don't fucking bother with nobody!
He's got a gun behind him. He's a fucking scum. You're a pussy. Fuck you. Pussy, pussy, pussy.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Now, from the footage cut, Spade points a pistol in the direction and fires a total of 5 shots into their direction, the final 2 hitting James and Lisa. Lisa lays on the road just next to the driveway. James retreats to his property. Spade then walks to Lisa and shoots her again, then runs to James and shoots him twice. Spade then retreats into his home. Nearby, a boy by the name of Gary Mitchell overhears the shooting and runs to the scene of the crime and asks what was happening. James groans the words, "Call 911." Gary runs back to his home and calls the authorities. Immediately after, Spade returns with an assault rifle and kills Lisa and James, leaving them in the cold. He then runs back to his home, and the video stays silent for moments until you hear one last shot. The final gunshot landing into Spade's head. Shortly after, the authorities showed up and found the couple dead on the road and Spade in his living room on the floor. A day after the events, the authorities closed the case as a murder-suicide, though the story does not end there, as the video surveillance footage from Goy's home was leaked online and went viral on several different social media sites. The families were rightly outraged. One family member of the Goy side of the family commented on Facebook, "For whoever is posting these videos of my family being executed, I hope you rot in fucking hell. They had a 15-year-old boy, and our family has been through enough. Have some respect." The audacity of some people. If you see it, report it, and tell the people to take it down, please, for my family's sake. Facebook and YouTube both responded to the whole situation, stating that they don't stand with this kind of content and remove them.
Had the video circulating. Facebook and YouTube were the only ones to respond to our request for comment. YouTube took down the video and responded to us saying, quote, "There is no place on YouTube for this kind of violent content. We've spent the last several years investing in tools and policies to help us quickly remove content that violates our policies." Facebook says, quote, We do not want this content on Facebook and remove it when we become aware of it. We have removed the violating content from a surveillance camera and used technology to detect and remove copies and stop it from spreading.
When we were first coming out, seeing him walk back into his house and I saw his handgun in his hand.
So I think it's pretty safe to conclude that both sides of this party were not in the right. Well, obviously the Goys being the instigator, and unfortunately the one taking the lies was Spade. But I don't think there's any direct notion for people to act like this online. A Facebook page was created on February 7th, 2021, only a couple days later after the events. And the stuff I found involving Spade was pretty disturbing, so I would like to share it here. One of the posts reads, "Jeffrey enjoyed watching Dragon Ball Z while in the Navy. Share some of your favorite episodes. You should have kept your fucking mouth shut," quoting one of the things he said in the video surveillance footage. I enjoyed a delicious snow cone today from one of our supporters. It was a strawberry with a hint of pineapple and another tropical fruit. It was called "You Should Have Kept Your Mouth Shut," special, and can be made with rum. Also, speaking of mouth shut, protect yourselves from coronavirus. Featuring an image of bloody snow. I don't think this is, hopefully not anyway, an image of what was remaining of the Goys. Don't forget to get your favorite person one of our Quiet Neighborhood t-shirts this holiday season, featuring an image of, well, a white shirt with bloody bullet holes. Remember, improper use of snow shovels can cause you to clock out of life early. Yeah, that's a pretty disturbing Facebook page. I don't really understand what connections this person has to Jeffrey Spade, or even cause them to make this many posts about him, considering there was really not that much interaction with these posts. Just seems like someone begged for attention, or is trying to truly drive some sort of mission to make fun of someone that's already passed. Now, an image is being passed around claiming that this was Jeffrey Spade, though that's actually an image of Donald Cristiano Jr. that allegedly impersonated a cop and abducted teens. And I did some digging and I found the original image of Jeffrey Spade. This is Jeffrey Spade. Now, only one thing left stands. Why did Spade resort to killing the Goys over something rather very minor? Was he depressed and the fight being the final straw for him to snap? Or was it simply a high pressure of the situation that got to his head and thought the only resort of the solution was violence? Well, we'll never truly know. For right now, there's still a lot of info not being shared with the public, or at least not known. But the true victims of this situation weren't the Goys or Spade themselves. It was the families and their unfortunate son that had to witness the entire thing go down. Now, I would also like to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below of why you think Spade did what he did. The Ruth Price murder case is a dilemma that puzzled the internet for a long time, as people were debating whether or not the murder actually happened or it was all just a hoax. Now, the video in question, without a doubt, is very disturbing and downright bone-chilling to listen to.
This is Ruth Price of 3877. What's the problem, ma'am? Oh, well, there's some guy been checking the place out.
How?
Well, he went in the back. I have an apartment in the back, and he said he was looking for a guy. And he comes to my door, and
Yes?
and said he's looking for an apartment. So I live alone, and I'm an old lady. And I'm kind of
Where is he now, ma'am?
I don't have no idea.
Now, many things can be said about this video that questions its authenticity. For starters, the 911 operator is strangely quiet after Ruth stops screaming. Perhaps it's a shock, but as a 911 operator, you need to be able to stomach these kinds of calls, or at least keep your cool and try and find out what happened as best you can. Another thing is the operator never asked for the address of her caller. If anything, the operator cut off Ruth and seemed very uninterested with the whole call when she was stating her address. Now, a popular theory circulated that this call was used for training for other 911 operators to get them ready or used to such calls. The creators such as Slightly Sociable and Scare Theater have contacted various centers that train 911 operators and to see if this claim was true. Many responses that came in were all denying or unsure of the video's use. Now, a Reddit post from 2 years ago actually found out the truth about Ruth Price. Now, it's a pretty lengthy post, so I'll only talk about the highlights. During my research, I found a listing of an obituary for Ruth Price on May of 1994 in San Diego Union Tribune. The entire obituary wasn't being shown, so I went looking for the full obituary. Instead, I found Ruth M. Price listed on the newspaper section calling assaults on November 3rd, 1980 in San Diego Evening Tribune. In this newspaper clipping, it says Ruth M. Price was assaulted on the 3800 block of the 35th Street. This newspaper clipping fit Ruth Price's 911 call perfectly. You can find the screenshots of this newspaper clipping here. I truly believe this is the missing piece that identifies the true Ruth Price of the unknown 911 call. It wasn't a hoax or 911 training call. That blood-curdling scream was unfortunately very real. The good news is Ruth, even being older in age, fought off her attacker and lived for another 14 years. Now if we click the link on the newspaper clipping, the person linked it gives us the full story of what happened that night. It reads, police arrested 8 suspects in connection with a rash of unrelated weekend attacks, including all 3 suspected of the assaults on officers. Police are looking for a youth who tried to strangle a 76-year-old woman on East San Diego woman yesterday. Officials say Ruth M. Price of 3800 block 35th Street was called to police to advise them of a prowler in the area when she was grabbed from behind and choked. She was able to break the attacker's grip after dropping the telephone, screaming and pulling at the attacker's hands. The youth fled. Price said she did not know why she was assaulted and had never seen the suspect before. After the incident, Ruth lived her life out until she lost her battle with an unidentified illness on May 13th, 1994. Now, it's nice that everyone can get some sort of closure from the story, because it was for at least decades that the story was unsolved. I and many others were very curious to see if Ruth Price actually did, the whole thing even, did happen, or didn't. So shout out to that person that put in the extra work to actually find the truth behind that story. In the country of Azerbaijan, the capital city Baku, one of the worst videos leaked to the internet. On January 7th, 2022, in a bakery located in the city of Baku, a woman by the name of Matanat Hasanova worked in a bakery. She and one of her co-workers, Zal Nuraliova, were on cleaning duty of one of the bakery's dough mixers. Now, both of these women were supposedly close. We have been like mother and child. Our relations have been very good. A quote that will come into question in authenticity, as the footage of the woman that is working and that happens to her next is quite shocking. Now, the women were divided into teams to clean areas. Matanat was tasked to clean one of the machinery. She was positioned near the bottom of the mixer, and the woman walking in her frame is Zal. As the footage rolls, we see Matanat cleaning the machine and Zal walking towards the side of the machine that has a control panel to turn on and off the machine. For whatever reason, Zal turns on the machine. I obviously can't show the rest of the footage because YouTube will take my ass down, but I can try my best to describe what happens next. So Zal, for whatever reason, turns on the machine and gets Matanat's arm stuck into the machine and gets her killed as it sucks her in. And honestly, the way her body ragdolls is so disturbing and unnerving. And seeing the workers freak out is just adds on to the unnerving feeling the video has surrounding it. Now, according to the comment on Reddit, claimed that they supposedly had the story of what happened. Now, take everything with a giant grain of salt, as not everything that might be read is true. On the day of the incident, there was a division of labor among the workers, and 2 of us were assigned to clean the warehouse, and dough mixing equipment of the production plant. We cleaned the warehouse first and then started cleaning the faculties. At that time, Matana had been bent down and began wiping the floor of the second unit from the door with the rag. She also told me, "Come pick up the device so I can wipe it." To raise the device, I pressed the green button on the far left. As far as I remember, at this moment, I heard the screams of a woman in the shop. When I turned my face, I saw Matana was stuck between the steering irons of the device. Shocked by what I saw, I started screaming. At the same time, I wanted to help Matana somehow with my hands. Later, one of the workers approached to turn off the device and said that Matana was already dead. The surroundings were covered in blood, and I'm very sorry for the incident. Now, another thing the comment reads is the worker was convicted of negligent homicide and sentenced to 2 years of labor/imprisonment and monthly deduction of 20% of her salary. Now, I did some poking around and saw some of the names mentioned and that didn't match what comment stated. According to Silkaway News, the manager of the bakery was the one being sued due to the murder and negligence, and was her that was put into prison for 2 years. Not much else was stated or can be found at the moment about this case, so if you guys have anything else to add on or correct in the comments about the story, or any stories mentioned in this video for that matter, please state them below. Just wanted to say thanks if you made it to the end of this video. If you want me to make more of these, just let me know in the comments down below. If you have any other stories or even videos or channels or anything like that, please let me know. I hope you guys enjoy watching this video, and see you in the next one.